considering it. Seriously considering it.
100% sure ako tatakbo siyang Pangulo.
Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte may eventually run for president or vice president, according to her allies. Meanwhile, lawyers are saying that the petition seeking to disqualify Bongbong Marcos' candidacy may be weak. What are the next events that Filipino voters will have to watch out for? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this special edition of The Chiefs. I'm Robbie Alampay. Also with us, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star. Joining us from Manila, Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5 in Quezon City. And here in Mandaluyong, Ed Lingao of One News. Chiefs, good evening.
Good
Happy
evening.
Hump Day.
Ami, mas malinaw na ba ngayon o may mga lalong lumabo pa?
Malabo kasi sabi ng party ni unang-una sabi ng party ni Bongbong Marcos is not planning to slide down to the vice presidency. So, on the other hand, yung papasok nga natin guest everybody's saying Sara is running for president. Kaya magkakakampi ang mga yan. So, we don't know.
Oo nga, kaya idiretso na natin sa guest natin para diretso yung tanungan natin. We begin tonight with Congressman Joey Salceda. Good evening, Congressman Salceda.
Good evening to the
Good
big.
evening,
Magandang gabi, sir.
Congressman.
Sir, let me quote you. Sabi nyo, sigurado ako, tatakbo for president. And then you said also, logic naman logic dictates that this is the only path. My first question is, other than logic, saan nyo pa pinaguhugutan yung confidence nyo? Natatakbo siya. Meron bang bumulong sa inyo? Sinabi ba sa inyo diretso ni Sara Duterte na tatakbo siya presidente?
We have a very frank and very friendly chat that goes kilometers since way back. And dalawa lang. Sabi ko, biniro ko, naku, tumakbo ka na. Mamamatay ako pag di ka tumakbo. Sabi niya, no, you won't. Just hold my hands. We went to other topics. Sabi ko sa kanya na we were talking about other candidates. Pwede ba, Joey? Can you just please focus on me? And that happened at 8:56 yesterday. Yung pala, may niluluto na siya.
Sige. Now, I'll take it on the other side. We'll take your logic as analysis. Why is a run for the presidency the only logical option for Sara Duterte?
Because from the start, since May 2, we were talking about the presidency. And as my typical role in Philippine political economy, I've been providing her with data analytics, with policy papers that a vice president don't have to deal with. So, for example, there was that Cebu meeting. So I was commissioned, essentially, BBM Sara BBM. So I was given 4 days to do, kasi it will take time to do a full blast national survey. So I was commissioned to make an extrapolation both on all available data. And we used 4 essential factors. One is core strength, that means bailiwicks. 2 is essentially aversion, yung kung saan ang isang kandidato ay mababa. Third is essentially transferability, madadala ba ng ulo yung kanyang BC. Pangatlo, national appeal. On all 4 counts, Sara has the numbers.
Well, sir, we saw nga the memo that you sent us and napansin ko kasi sa inyo, sir, you try to overwhelm reporters with the data in hopes of drowning us before we can shoot out the question. But we appreciate that. We actually appreciate it, sir.
It has been sleeping for the past 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
I didn't release that until she finally,
Yes, sir.
started to do something.
What I'm trying to say, sir, is that we appreciate it. What I'm trying to say, sir, is that sabi nga ni Robbie, that is the logic behind having her run. But going back to Robbie's question then, I'll be the devil's advocate. Her saying, hold my hand and focus on me, could mean any of a number of things. Eh? It could mean that you're very best friends.
Why will I hold her hands if she's just BP? She doesn't need holding hands. She does focus on the vice president. She doesn't make policy. She doesn't deal with Congress. And when you talk about policy, for example, we have this 15-point agenda
Yes,
under presidency. So what will I do with this? Will a vice president be able to, and it basically draws upon her performance and achievements in Davao City. And
Ako, yeah. Sir,
So-
ako ang tanong ko naman, bakit ba, I mean, lahat naman, and we had interviewed you a couple of weeks back, no? And I recall that you were very confident that Sarah was going to run. So we were all surprised also that she didn't even file, no? And her statements were to the effect that she is probably not going to run. My question to you is, what actually held her back? Can we be candid about that?
she would have filed on the very first day because she really wanted to run for president. That was her existential predisposition. Kaso there were, how would you call, roadblocks, hurdles. So you have to give it to her unyielding firmness to purpose na until all those roadblocks were cleared, then suddenly she made the move. And
Can
when
you
see-
name us, can you
One?
name us at
The-
least one of those roadblocks?
One that we extensively addressed, which we essentially dealt with analytically, through data, is a Duterte tandem. That was initially right after we talked about in May 2. Of course, she said, and she said pointedly that she won. Duterte is not good for her or for the country. So then came other terms, basically. Kasi na-clear na-clarify na, parang ayoko na pag-usapan kasi parang I have to talk about, essentially who put all those roadblocks towards her. Essentially, she would have filed on the first day. Kasi she, as she said, she is no last 2-minute candidate. It was very clear to her. She is possessed over not destiny, but rather her commitment to serve the country. I mean, that everybody can say that. But, it was very clear to her that she had a mission to.
Well, Congressman, that's one of the questions ngayon na lumalabas. Who will be her running mate? Dahil siguro
In yesterday's, kasi mahaba yung chat namin kahapon, probably the longest. We have kilometric chats, and sabi ko you can run without a vice president. You can choose fill in the blanks or multiple choice like your father. So, pero knowing her, she will take a stand. She will choose a vice president.
pero talagang tandem or she will support the vice president? Kasi
I think-
there's a lot of speculation na it will be a Sara Bongbong Marcos tandem or Bongbong Marcos Sara tandem. And the camp of Bongbong Marcos said nga today, yung party niya, that he doesn't intend to slide down to the vice president. So sin yun. Tapos si
In most surveys where both of them are there, she is ahead 10 to 12 points. But the only risk to that is if the co-opposition is able to congeal.
Yes.
But I still have to run a number where, this, kasi ang importante dito talaga, you're able to, kailangan may data bago ka magsalita, whether that particular scenario, her presidency is viable. But my gut feel is, based on the available data, she will still come out of it.
Yes, but Congressman,
we talked to Bruce Rivera kagabi, sabi niya, GMA is brokering a tandem between Sara and Bongbong, and she might join the Lakas CMD. Tama ba?
Ang point lang naman about Lakas CMD is that she has two choices. Yung isa, PDP, which is mired in a case in the COMELEC, which might take up to the Supreme Court. But you just show me a picture where obviously there is some peace brokering between Manny Pacquiao's group and the president, and which brings to fore the possibility that the PDP, the MDM might withdraw the case and probably have a unified PDP. But the absence of Pimentel in that picture is, of course, I don't know whether it's a warning sign or it's just coincidental.
Okay, so pag nag-unified PDP, so Sara is going to be the standard bearer, and what will happen to Manny? Will he be the VP katandem?
Again, I cannot comment on that speculation because she's not part of my chat. I only speak on things where the subject is actually responding.
In that case, Congressman, maybe you could talk about the possibility or the plausibility, however you gauge it, of Sara Duterte's run for the presidency running up against Bongbong Marcos. I mean, that is still a distinct possibility at this point.
No, I don't think so. The numbers, if you read the analytical...
The memo.
Well, essentially, they commissioned it after that Cebu meeting. So they gave me 4 days and I gave it to them in 1 day. So binigay ko sa kanila yun. So lumalabas doon talaga in terms of core strength, transferability, in terms of version. And of course, the version is the one that's really killing.
Yes, sir.
Yes, but the one thing that will not show up in the numbers is the determination of Bongbong Marcos to run.
Yeah, but I'm talking about who will win. The winnability.
But
But mataas din siya sa surveys. He's doing quite...
Kasi wala kasi si Sara sa mga surveys ngayon, nilagay sa BP. And just to show you the strength, akala namin from statistically, shoe-in na dapat si Soto. He has broken already the 39% basically. So, pero nung nilagay si Sara, suddenly Sara is on top by so many points over Tito Soto.
Sir, na-intriga kami dun sa binabanggit yung roadblocks na lift na. Although I know you mentioned one, yung Duterte roadblock, but that's been disposed of nung first week of October pa eh. I'm wondering lang, ano yung roadblock na napaka-instrumental na natanggal this week? Itong linggo lang.
Si Bongo ba, roadblock?
Kasi nga, when I said that she has that enlightened stubbornness to a goal, that she must run on her own terms.
Yes, sir. On her own terms.
So what are her terms?
The term is she must pick her own VP.
So it had to do with that. It had to do with choosing the vice presidential candidate. I do remember kasi nung August 25, nagreklamo si Sara na pinipilit sa kanya si Bongo.
I will not anymore comment on that because kumbaga ang alam ko na clear na. I mean, I wouldn't hindi ko and basta it's not productive to talk about it.
Sige, Congressman, but I'll stay on the matter of the presidency. Nabanggit nyo rin to. Still trying to speculate on what the options, not just of Sara Duterte are, but also of Bongbong Marcos. If Sara Duterte will not slide down, Bongbong Marcos will also say that, Tito Soto is a game changer. You pointed that out. He's the leader there. I mean, theoretically, it might actually be harder to win the vice presidency with Tito Soto there. So never mind Sara Duterte's beating Tito Soto according to you by your numbers. But what about Bongbong Marcos? Isn't that a disincentive for him also to slide down?
Napaka-cute sana nung ano eh. And it's appealing to many people that you have solid north, solid south combination. And but as I can only speak not on the speculation, but rather on my conversation with Sarah, and I tell you it's kilometric. We never talk about the BP. It's always about the presidency.
But would it be possible
Is it
for
a-
her to
yeah.
support Bongo?
We never talk about the BP for her.
Okay. But you
So,
mentioned
is it accurate to say then that the choice of VP is not even really crucial or critical as a variable?
It is not a problem for her.
So whoever she chooses, let's just say that,
She will be able to carry her.
Oh,
Him.
okay.
So even the proposition of somebody carrying the solid north, supposedly delivering the solid north, that in itself is not compelling enough an argument for her to choose Bongbong Marcos.
Sabi ko nga, there is an intellectual appeal or statistical appeal to it. But as I've said, that she single-mindedly focused on being president in 2022. So
Congressman,
being BP has never crossed any of our chat.
Congressman, kanina you mentioned already a meeting among President Duterte, Bongo, and Senator Pacquiao. Would you have more details about it? Ano kaya yung pinag-usapan? Yeah, I'm sure it's related to your party, the PDP Laban.
Chismis yan. I don't know, kasi the absence of, I would have been happier if Coco Pimentel is there.
Mhm.
So that means we could have a unified PDP Laban, and therefore she could run under it rather than go to Lakas. But apparently, Lakas is the most prepared to offer its placeholder for Sara Duterte. So the cases can be withdrawn, everything like that, and then therefore she is free to choose between Lakas and PDP Laban. And that essentially, that strengthens psychographically from an income class. It's if you keep reading it, they're both strong on the E. So and
What
the number,
about-
and it solidifies Mindanao.
So you're
They-
saying there is this effort within the PDP Laban to unite the two factions again?
I think it was on the side, nako, I've been talking lang kasi to the staff of, ang hirap kasi mag-comment sa chismis, no? But coming from their own staff, I think, let Manny Pacquiao announce it, not me.
Sir, tayong lima lang naman eh.
Oo nga eh.
Sir, what about yung party?
What
kunyari-
in the next 3 days, that's the last surprise.
Oh.
Okay.
Wala kami surprise, unahan mo na kami.
Sir, konting kiliti. Sir, konting kiliti lang. Konti lang.
What Manny Pacquiao will do is the last surprise. And I think Sarah filing for presidency will be no surprise.
I'm just curious about yung kanina yung sinabi nyo, no, that it would be more compelling and convincing for you if Coco Pimentel were there. I don't know how party politics works, but ang ano ko lang is, if I were PDP Laban on that faction, why should I care about Coco Pimentel right now? Manny Pacquiao, who is now their bet for presidency, is the one who's there, di ba? I mean, right now, Manny Pacquiao is the one holding up that wing of the PDP Laban, di ba? And whatever the prospects and the options are for them. He has the endorsing power, he has the platform, and so why should people care about Coco Pimentel at this point?
Well, ang sinasabi ko lang is the possibility of having PDP Laban, both wings, essentially unifying and therefore being the platform for the presidential run of
Unified
But-
behind Sara
yeah.
Duterte, that's what you're saying.
Well, it looks nice, but I think in terms of data and statistics, I still have to run it. What is the impact? Everything I do for Sarah is all about big data analytics,
Pero sir, of course sir, we appreciate all the data, pero in the end din kasi, the data will not reflect whether or not Sara likes certain people in the PDP Laban.
Exactly,
Because
yes.
in the past,
Yeah.
he has spoken out quite roughly against certain people in the PDP Laban who are leaders of the PDP Laban.
Now, she called them clowns.
Ayun, there you go. So ibang usapin po 'yun.
Well, of course, she wants to win. That I think essentially.
It's just a secondary option. Let's just
No,
put it
right
that
now
way.
it is the primary. It will be the primary option because there are no cases.
No, but if the Manny Pacquiao meeting with President Duterte were indeed a sign of a unified PDP Laban, would that be strong enough parang attraction or hook for her to join PDP Laban or to run under PDP Laban? After all, Senator Bato de la Rosa is just waiting on the sidelines and will give way anytime. Is that a scenario that will likely happen?
As far as I know, Bato naman si kaibigan ko eh. She has already given instruction to prepare for the withdrawal.
Ooh.
And on the side of Manny Pacquiao, it remains to be seen what will be the terms of endearment or engagement that will be forged. So I'm not privy to it. I hindi sana ako magko-comment tungkol doon kasi I don't have data and I don't have the chat or the
Sir,
kung ano
sorry.
sinabi.
Sorry sir, medyo dense ako eh. So didiretsuhin ko na kayo sir. So ibig niyo mga sabihin, is this what we're looking at? Kung magkatuluyan at kung magkaigihan, you're looking at unified PDP Laban with Sara as a presidential and Manny Pacquiao as a vice presidential candidate? Is that what you are looking at possibly?
Well, that's really dense.
That naman hindi naman ikaw eh. That daw. Not you.
Titingnan pa rin dyan numero yan. Titingnan natin because there are longitudinal or what I can call a very secular trends that will essentially determine who is will improve the probability of winning for Sara. I think that will be very critical. So kaya sabi ko kanina, she can run. I gave her 2 choices yesterday, fill in the blanks or multiple choice. But knowing her, she will choose a vice president. She will choose definitely a vice president that she will make. She will make him win. Speculation na kasi yun eh, kung she will, kasi Manny Pacquiao can either go senator again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congressman,
So,
Sara Duterte expressed concern about her ratings because in the last one, medyo bumababa siya.
Kasi she said she's not running.
Okay.
That's September 9 to 11 and we measured it. There was an impact. Exactly where, in other words, yung mga tinatawag nating periphery ng kanyang core bailiwicks.
So you don't think it was because of her father's falling ratings affecting her?
As you look at Wikipedia, she is described as fierce and independent-minded. If you believe Wiki.
The numbers that she lost, at that period when people heard and assumed na hindi na siya tatakbo, saan napunta yun?
8, you will be surprised, 20% went to Lenny. That's how broad the constituency of Sara Duterte.
And the 80%? How much went to Bongbong Marcos?
I think you have to pay me for that already.
Inumpisahan nyo na eh. Kompletuhin nyo na.
You have to be commissioned na for that.
Yung sir, sinasabi ko lang eh, kumbaga, the eye-popping thing there was that 20% of what she lost went to Lenny.
And that's what Lenny's camp is saying, actually, that in 2016, she started low and she actually gained and passed Bongbong Marcos, who was also showing strongly in the surveys. So you think Sara can improve her numbers and sustain the high numbers? Obviously, of course.
I think the first survey will as you said, in May 2, this interview vindicates me. And I think the first survey after she files will vindicate me as well, that she is well.
Yeah. But, okay, so converse to what you just shared about the 20% going to Leni Robredo. Because people assume na, pagka tumakbo yan, naku, si Bongbong Marcos ang aagawan niyan. What you're saying is, when she runs, she's gonna take votes away again from Leni Robredo?
I think they will come back to their original repository. Because that was their original predisposition, is to vote for her.
So if that happens, sino ang pinakamahigpit niyang kalaban pag tumakbo siya? Will it be Leni or Bongbong?
Kasi may presumption doon na si Bongbong tatakbo pa rin, di ba?
Yes.
So we're making an assumption, and I haven't run the numbers wherein all the so-called the best is really
You also have to pay. You also have to pay.
So there is a possibility that Sara could choose Bongbong and maybe even persuade him. Is that what you're wishfully thinking?
Sabi ko nga, she will win even without a vice president. That's our number.
Yeah. Yes, I know, but it's always better to run with a vice president. Not that it will make her win, but because you keep saying that that's her condition, di ba? That she gets to choose her running mate. So
just trying to answer na that is wishful thinking. No, it's not wishful thinking. All I'm saying is that if she is able to convince that, then kasi I'm not privy to the feelings between the two camps now. Vis-a-vis what happened in Cebu. So basta dun sa Cebu, doon nagsimula yung I was commissioned to do the study. So the study clearly showed the superiority of Sara with respect to people's predisposition to or preference.
I mean, there were reports as well that Bongbong Marcos was in Davao at around that time and before Sara Duterte announced her decision. Did that have anything to do with the developments?
Wala siguro. Kasi naman kami kahapon, akala ko nagbibiroan lang kami. Nung sinabi niya sa akin, just focus on me, hold my hands, you won't die. So suddenly at 2 o'clock, si Baste was already in Comelec. By 3, she was already there in Comelec. And then Bongo, by 4 o'clock, was already speaking. So,
does President Duterte have a role to play here, whether wittingly or unwittingly? I mean, I'm just wondering, because we all know that the relationship between the two has been, rocky also. But, what is his role in all of this?
He's become, I think, a more doting father. He would like his daughter to win, of course. Ang proof niyan is that willingness to, see Manny has thrown so much at the palace after, so.
I see.
He's willing to forgive and forget. So he's willing to settle.
Right. Para lang mag-unify. Yeah.
So I think it's a how do you call that? Compliant president. Compliant politician.
So, sir,
I,
Sir, the primary option that you see is a run under the PDP, a unified PDP. The secondary option
No.
is a run under
right
Lakas.
now, the most viable is a run under Lakas because it's not mired in any case. And that, as you said, that impression of Sarah about PDP, I think presupposes that she'd rather run in Lakas rather than PDP.
But that also raises the question, sir. I know you're not with Lakas, you're with PDP Laban, but the chairman of Lakas happens to be Martin Romualdez, a first cousin of Bongbong Marcos, who is also running, of course, for the presidency. What are the chances that Lakas would, or at least Mr. Romualdez would not give his full support to Sara joining?
We have, both of us have the same boss. It's called PGMA.
Okay. The chairman emeritus.
Okay. Well, Congressman Joey Salceda will have to wait for the surprise this week. As you said, another shoe's about to drop. We're waiting with bated breath. In the meantime, maraming salamat po for all your
Thank you, sir.
very much.
Thank you,
Ingat po,
sir.
Always a
Salamat.
pleasure.
Yung pong kilometric chat nyo, paki-screen cap lang at paki-forward. Hindi kami naniniwalang may kilometric chat. Parang hirap maniwala.
Sige na, okay lang.
Okay.
I can choose. I show you some of the juicy parts.
Sige, sir. Sige, sir. Game.
Talaga ha? Hindi kami naniniwala dyan. Sige. Hindi, padala nyo na lang po sa amin. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat po.
Tanungin mo na lang siya.
Okay. Maraming salamat po, Congressman Joey
Thank you,
Salceda.
sir.
Salamat.
Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back.
Welcome back to Chiefs here on One News, and now joining us is former Justice Secretary Attorney Alberto Agra. Good evening, Attorney Agra, and thank you for joining us.
And
Good
magandang
evening,
gabi.
sir.
Good evening,
Salamat
sir.
sa inyong paanyaya, and I was listening into your discussion in very exciting times.
Sir, baka may alam kayo. Teka.
None at all.
Of course, we do remember you were GMA's last Justice Secretary, di ba?
Correct. And she hasn't called me sa election na to, so
Wala kayo sa chat ha? Wala kayo sa chat group ha?
Wala.
Baka may
Wala kayong kilometric,
Wala. Buti na lang, no?
Well, sir, you've been quite vocal about your position dun sa petition against for the cancellation of Bongbong Marcos's COC. Among others, you've said nga na wala namang jail term na ibigay, so hindi talaga counted yun. I think that also echoes yung sinabi ni former Justice Carpio. But there were two other issues at least presented in the petitions. One is yung moral turpitude that you've also talked about previously. But the other one is yung Section 253 ng National Internal Revenue Code, which states nga daw na those who violate the code are perpetually disqualified from running for public office. They're also not allowed to vote anymore and participate in elections. What about that part, sir? That part of the NIRC, where does that stand po?
Agree. It's very clear in the NIRC that if you're a public officer, it carries with it that perpetual disqualification. Unfortunately, in the decision, the 2009 decision of the Supreme Court pertaining to Presidential Bongbong Marcos, it is the Supreme Court decision is silent on what we call the accessory penalty of, or the penalty even of perpetual disqualification. Hence the debate, hence the argument. Walang binanggit ang Supreme Court, or is it implied? So that's the debate now, and I think that will be the main issue.
But not only is it a debate, isn't it the explicit question now?
Yes, that is that's in the petition, and that will be answered by the respondent, Presidential Bongbong Marcos. No?
Sir,
Yeah.
but what's the rule with accessory penalties? In all decisions ba, kailangan all the penalties have to be stipulated even if it is already stipulated in the law?
Explicitly, yeah.
Let's
Does it
talk
have to
about-
be explicit?
Again, sa revised penal code, that's carried, no? Like what happened to the case of libel of Congressman Pichay, the case of statutory rape in the case of Congressman Halusos.
Alusos, yes, sir.
In this particular case, kasi NIRC provision siya, it's a special law. So there's no consensus among lawyers that that it automatically carries with it the accessory penalty.
You mean there's not even a single precedent na ganyang similar case na hindi naman in-specify ng Supreme Court, then perpetually disqualified yung na-convict? Walang
No.
ganong precedent, not a single?
There is for special laws,
Yes.
and again the argument is you should apply what we apply in the penal code in those cases. But again, the other position is it does not automatically carry with it. No?
So every case kailangan may specified yun? Ganun ba yung justice system natin?
Well, again, that's the debate, and hopefully this case will resolve that once and for all. Whether the NIRC or any other special law will, even if the decision is silent, if it's automatically carried that accessory penalty.
Pero yung accusation na moral turpitude, you think that's out of the question? Na?
Yeah, in the 2009 case pertaining to Bongbong Marcos, the Supreme Court made a distinction amongst three types of offenses punishable under the revised penal code. Number one, non-filing of the ITR. Number two, fake filing or fake ITR. And number three, fraudulent filing with the intent of evading tax. No? According to that case, yung moral turpitude will only pertain to the fraudulent filing because if it's non-filing or fake ITR, it does not carry with it, it is not a crime involving moral turpitude absent any finding of fraud. So
it gives them the benefit of the doubt. It gives the accused the benefit of the doubt na, I mean, among other things that they have cited na baka nakalimutan or there
good
could have
faith.
been, it was in good faith.
ang dilemma ngayon would be, may authority ba ang Commission on Election, no, to determine if it's a crime involving moral turpitude? No? Number two, may authority ba ang Commission on Election to say na carried yung accessory penalty of perpetual disqualification? So, sasabihin ba yun ng COMELEC? I-dismiss ba ng COMELEC? So, yun ang inaabangan ng marami.
Doon sa perpetual
Well, okay,
disqualification,
when you say
why
that-
would we not
yeah.
presume, I mean, never mind the first one, but on the question of perpetual disqualification, I mean, wouldn't you presume that the COMELEC precisely on questions and clauses like that would have, and place it among themselves, in itself, the authority? Why would we not assume that they would presume that precisely for a question on qualification and ability for anybody to run, obviously that's COMELEC.
But again, the debate again is it might be a judicial issue rather than an issue within the authority of the Commission on Election.
In other words, you're saying that this is not just a ministerial task of the COMELEC, because that's what former COMELEC Chairman Monsod told
Correct.
us, no, that actually issues like this should be a simple ministerial task. Did he or did he not actually get convicted? So you're saying now that even that is in question?
Again, what is clear is he was sentenced to imprisonment, to fine, no?
Yes.
It is not a crime involving moral turpitude, the non-filing of the ITR. So now the question is, does it carry the final judgment of conviction of fine of violating the NIRC? Does it carry with it the accessory penalty of perpetual disqualification? It would have been different if this were libel. This would have been different if this were statutory rape, because we have already decided cases on those. Ito, NIRC. So, and at the same time, the 2009 case is silent on the matter.
Pero Mr. Agra, there's also the counter-argument na yung non-filing of ITR, siguro kung ginawa daw ng once, walang moral turpitude involved. But if you do it 3 times, subsequent offenses, meron daw intent which could constitute moral turpitude. What do you think of that argument?
Again, just reading from the 2009 decision, walang ganung mention eh. How I wish naging categorical ang Supreme Court natin on the matter. But again, the Supreme Court said non-filing, and again, it was repeated. There was no statement by the Supreme Court that there was fraud. And therefore, it amounts to a crime involving moral turpitude. Walang ganung categorical decision, and hence the debate, no?
Sir, there was
One last na
another...
lang, no? Isn't that a case of, I mean, I'm just curious. So, wala bang liability for perjury yung mga ganyan? Kasi, di ba, when he filed his certificate of candidacy, in essence, he should have known that that was a basic point of disqualification, and yet, di ba, there was no declaration of such. Di ba,
Yeah.
di ba
By the
yun
way,
na...
there's one essential element that we have not discussed yet, which is essential, because if it's a case for material misrepresentation,
Yes.
and the intention is to cancel the certificate of candidacy. No? Isang mahalagang elemento would be deliberate attempt to fool the people or defraud the people. No? Let me give an example. Yung nangyari sa kanyang mother, former First Lady, nilagay niya sa certificate of candidacy niya 7 months yung residency niya sa Tacloban. Pero under the Constitution, ang requirement qualification
Yes.
sa residency is 1 year. No?
1 year, yes. Well,
Clearly, based on the document, hindi siya qualified. No? But the Supreme Court said that there was no deliberate intent to defraud, and she was actually qualified. Another issue would be yung kay Senator Grace Poe, tsaka si Fernando Poe Jr. And just a month ago, the Supreme Court made a ruling sa Abra Mayor, no? Doon yung issue ng citizenship, sabi ng Supreme Court, ang COMELEC hindi nagkaroon ng trial kung meron ba talagang intention yung kandidato manloko or manlinlang, no? Kaya ang mahalaga sa COMELEC ngayon is assuming established yung fact that hindi siya qualified, kailangan pa rin magkaroon ng hearing ang COMELEC to determine intention ba ng kandidato manloko. That has to be established.
Sir, there was another case being cited by the petitioners. I'm not exactly sure what bearing this has on the whole case. Kasi parang sinama lang eh. It's the estate tax liability of the Marcos family of mga 23 billion as of 1991 that has been unpaid for the last 3 decades. And that's been affirmed already by the Supreme Court, the tax liability. And I remember Justice Carpio saying na lumabo na raw yan sa 203 billion, but that's another story altogether. Pero yun lang, just that fact na hindi pa rin nababayaran yung 23 billion na yan, na tax liability for 30 years, does that have any bearing on this case?
I have not read the petition, ano? So I don't know kung saan siya na-allege. This is news for me, no, that there was such a case. So ang tanong doon would be, final ba yung judgment? Meron bang
Well, I found it, sir, in, in the archives. There was a Supreme Court
And kung
affirmation
may
of the...
accessory penalty din ba siya? No?
Wala, sir. I think it was just for the payment of the liability and the fines and the penalties.
All the
which is
penalties.
which is similar to the 2009 case, no? Pinagbayad, nag-fine, walang imprisonment, at according to that case, there are 3 types pala of offenses under that NIRC provision. And not at yung tatlong yun, kung walang
Fraud.
like non-filing, hindi automatic na may fraud. Kailangan patunayan mo pa yung fraud.
Okay. Sir, question lang on the process, because everything, of course, will eventually get up to the Supreme Court. But my
Correct.
question is, are all the scenarios and questions contemplated here, do you see everything going straight to the Supreme Court, or is there any point of action here where the COMELEC can actually say, wait, we will make a decision on that right now, take it to the Supreme Court if you want?
Okay. Normal process, division. It has been raffled, I think, to the second division.
Yes, sir.
Then NBank, then the Supreme Court. No? Depends on the lawyer of kung sino man ang matalo sa division, meron siyang option to elevate, to bypass the NBank and go to the Supreme Court directly, saying urgency, transcendental issue, yung tinatawag natin non-exhaustion of administrative remedies, kasi meron kang iba-bypass na higher level. So may konting risk yon, kasi it's up to the Supreme Court whether they will allow you to bypass the NBank on the grounds that you will allege as an exception to the non-exhaustion. No? Similar to what happened to Senator Grace Poe, yung kanyang decision came, I think, a month before the election, and I think that affected yung confidence ng botante. So hopefully, the COMELEC will resolve it. No? Ang tanong kasi, pure legal issue ba yung at hindi na kailangan mag-trial, no? It's a pure legal issue, it's a pure question of law, and therefore memorandum na lang pwede nang bilisan, no? Ang downside ng ganong walang hearing, kasi baka kailangan ng hearing kasi material misrepresentation yung pinaka-ground to cancel eh. Kailangan ma-establish yung intent to fool the people, to defraud the people dun sa alleged kasinungalingan in the certificate of privacy.
How do you prove intent? I mean, in general, how do you prove intent?
That's very difficult to prove. Intention is very difficult to prove. Again, any document or any testimony. So again, like any other case, there must be proof.
Okay, the fact that he had run before and that he was allowed to run, that, how much weight will be given to such presidents, let's just call them, because he had run and he had won and he had served.
Actually, hindi naman nagpre-prescribe yun. So it can be raised now. And it is being raised now. So ang question is, wala naman naging estoppel or waiver in that regard. So kaya ngayon siya nauungkat.
Nabungkat.
No, kasi nakita yung kaso. You think the Supreme Court can be persuaded to speed up processes?
Again, I wouldn't want to second guess our Supreme Court, and so one would be pangatlong layer ang Supreme Court after division and bank, and there could be a calculated risk of bypassing the NBank and going directly to the Supreme Court. You will underscore urgency, you will underscore this is a transcendental issue. So those are the possible exceptions to the rule on exhaustion.
You think it's a transcendental issue? Kayo personally?
Yes, for me as a lawyer, yes. For me, it's urgent. For me, it's a constitutional issue. So those are the 3 of the 20 possible grounds to exhaust. Not to exhaust.
Yes. Kasi kahit naman anong exhaustion gawin sa COMELEC, it will eventually go to Supreme Court.
Yes, whoever loses
Yes.
will definitely elevate it to the higher level.
Okay. Hey, just a general question. What if, on the other side of it, if the courts is eventually determined that no, this is not moral turpitude, beyond even the question of evading taxes, just on all other kinds of offenses and convictions, so what implication would a judgment like that have on basically lowering the barrier for anybody who wants to seek an elective post?
One, not all crimes involve moral turpitude. Number two, not all crimes will carry with it the perpetual disqualification. So it really depends on the gravity of the crime and on the law which prescribes the effect of committing that crime and being convicted with on final judgment.
Okay.
So how we wish it's one size fits all. It's not. There are certain classifications, and we must be mindful of those.
One last na lang. I'm just curious. Why do you think the Court of Appeals did not actually sentence him to a jail term, in spite of the fact that it's very clear in the tax law, in the
Again,
revised penal code?
Yeah, and in the decision of the RTC.
Again, the petitioners are assailing that. And the question now is, can the COMELEC, quote-unquote, correct that decision of the Court of Appeals? So it might not be within their authority to do so, no? Because that's judicial in nature.
Ang sinabi explanation kapag daw failure lang to file income tax return, it doesn't carry a prison term. Is that correct?
Actually, ang nakalagay doon is pwedeng imprisonment, pwedeng fine. But di ba the RTC, fine and imprisonment. Pagdating sa Court of Appeals, nawala yung imprisonment at fine na lang.
Kahit failure to file an ITR lang yon. Kasi it's a lesser offense daw eh.
Kasi tatlong offense yun in one long paragraph, and it says there the penalty, no? So
Yes.
so ang nangyari, it was the Court of Appeals decided
Hindi daw
na
tax evasion. It's just a failure to file income tax return, which is a lesser offense, kaya daw walang prison term. Is that correct?
again, it was up to the court to determine. Kasi I suppose if it were fraudulent ITR with the intent to evade, then that would have provided for a higher penalty. But in this case, non-filing, although ang issue then is hindi lang once, no? Maraming
Three years. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that was the decision of the Court of Appeals. I wouldn't want to say that it was wrong or right, no? But it is that decision, which was affirmed by the Supreme Court. So
Hindi na siya. Winidraw
Hindi siya
yung
umabot.
Hindi na.
yeah. But again, there's a 2009 decision which discusses it.
Yeah.
Okay. Attorney Alberto Agra, former Justice Secretary Agra. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming
sir.
salamat.
Thank you, sir.
Magandang
Salamat.
gabi sa ating lahat at ingat.
Ingat po.
Ingat po kayo.
Good evening po. Ingat po.
That's all for this edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to everyone, mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Mami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Ed Lingao, and we are One News.